And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Christian's back for 5 minutes, and he's already ambushing us with, you're up! We can't hear. Did a bumper play?
Yeah, there's music playing. I don't know.
Currently?
I don't know why you can't hear it. I'll have to do some investigating.
Well,
Maybe Hatch broke the board on his way out.
Alert the Mamba. He's right across the hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the bumper is slamming. What are we listening to today?
Highway Tune.
Oh.
Greta Van Fleet.
Sure. Yeah.
A real jam. I can feel it. If you're watching on the YouTube, watch me bounce along with the music.
You're right on.
Yeah.
You're right on beat, as always.
How is it? How did I do?
Great. Yeah,
I'm not even familiar
wonderful.
with that tune. I don't even know. Like,
Do you know who they are?
Is
you
it
know
a
who
waltz?
Greta Van Fleet is?
I've heard the name.
They're basically a Led Zeppelin ripoff, like designed to sound exactly like Zeppelin.
Oh, okay.
But they're modern day.
But they're modern and they're kind of fun. I mean, it's a throwback. They're designed to sound like a throwback.
So they're doing to Zeppelin what Zeppelin did to so many blues musicians in the 50s?
Yes, exactly right. But this kid, the lead singer,
Like
is
directly, though, because Zeppelin pretty much directly ripped off those guys.
Yeah, but you see this kid and you're like, he has that voice? That's coming from him? Anyways, neither here nor there. You'll have to just imagine.
Are we still jamming?
Well, this happened to us yesterday too. We had
It's gone
we
now.
had a segment where we came back and didn't know what was going on. So
It's the best radio. It's ambush radio, and it's really great. Christian is back, though.
Welcome back.
We are happy he's back. We talked about your dual-purpose vacation while you were gone.
Jake speculated about it.
The angel-devil kind of thing, because you were going to Disneyland and then you were going to Vegas.
Yeah,
So
I see what you mean.
So you were waiting in line to see Elsa, and then you were waiting in line to get in to see Anna. You know what I mean?
Yep.
How'd it go?
I'm catching your drift.
How'd it go?
Wife had
It
a
was
good
great.
birthday. That's
Yeah.
where you guys went.
Yes.
She had a good time.
Birthday was awesome, and her family lives in Vegas. Her parents live in Vegas, so that's why we were there. Stopped and saw them on the way, then hopped on over to Disney.
Shout out to your wife.
That's why it makes it so awkward for Christian to excuse himself.
Yeah,
I'll be
because it's
back.
like, oh yeah, I got to go see my
I'll
in-laws,
be
and it's like,
back.
where do they live? Oh, Las Vegas. Yeah.
Give me like 2 hours, and I'll be back. Gonna hit the buffet, you know. No, we're glad you're back. Thanks to Parker and Hatch, who did a bunch of days filling in for you. We appreciate their fine work, and it's good to see you, Christian. Glad you had a good vacation.
Thank you.
I was quite angry at Christian, though, I got to admit, when I was listening to the Saturday show last week, because I came around to your point, Christian, and I hadn't had a chance to tell you that I thought Amen Thompson absolutely undercut Jimmy Butler on purpose. I was like, I'm on Team Christian. I think there was a code red. And I listened to the Saturday show, and Christian could not come up with who undercut Jimmy Butler. They were talking about it, and he was like, who was it? And I was like, it was Amen Thompson. I'm screaming at my radio. Christian,
Happens to the
I
best of
agree
us.
with you. You were right. He did it on purpose. Because Houston is a dirty team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I forgot about that momentarily when we were talking about that the other day. Anyway, we're glad to have Christian back. I've been waiting a whole week to yell at him for that. Tune into the Saturday show, though. Give it a listen. Christian and Alex.
10 to noon every Saturday.
Making it happen. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fine. You're having a good hair day.
Oh, appreciate it.
I'm surprised that you don't go with the earbuds like DJ and PK.
No, I like
You are both very vain people about their hair.
Oh, okay. I hate earbuds.
Oh, I don't like them either.
They don't fit my ears well, and then I don't think the sound is very good. Not that these are fancy, but
But you seem to put effort into your hair, which good for you. I'm not judging, but I don't. I just put
Sure,
a hat on.
throw a hat on.
And so I would have to be a crazy person to wear earbuds. But some people are sensitive about it who put in work to their hair.
sure.
Do you have like a like a headphone crease
I do.
across the dome for the rest of the day?
Yes.
I love it that you embrace that. I like that about you.
Lean into it.
Yeah.
It's awkward, but
It's a weird way to like humble brag, honestly.
that I wear headphones all the time.
Well, I'm on the radio.
A lot of people are. Headphones are just a thing that everyone has now.
It's something that comes with the trade. I just, we have a sport. Tune into Jake and Ben from 10 to noon. No?
Probably never happened.
Well, it should start.
Okay, I'll start.
It should start happening. Where do you want to start today, Ben?
Yeah, I think the big breaking news that Gregg Popovich is officially stepping down as the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs.
Didn't we all see this coming, though?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's 76. One way or another, it was coming. But he had the stroke at a Spurs game, which has kind of been the thing that's not been talked about a whole lot. His first stroke that he had was like 20 minutes or something before a game. So that's jarring. That's extremely jarring. And then he had a later medical episode, like a month ago, a couple of weeks ago at a restaurant. And I think at that point we realized like there's just not a chance he's going to be able to come back. But it certainly seemed like after the first incident, the stroke, the plan was for him to return to coaching. At least he wanted to return to coaching, which I understand. You do not want to go out of a lifelong profession that way that you have made your mark on, and some people believe you're the greatest head coach of all time, to have it taken from you versus your ability or decision to go out on your own terms.
Yeah. I find coaches that really coach until their later years kind of fascinating from a character standpoint. I mean, most of us, Ben, are working to be able to retire and carve out a portion of our lives that is, for us. But then you get fulfilled with work, right?
Yeah.
In a variety of ways. Life wouldn't be as interesting if we all just sat around all day, as appealing as that sounds.
Yeah.
And with, age and that balance, and then you throw in a high-profile position, and you throw in competition and things like that, I find it interesting with aging coaches and how they continue or not continue to be effective.
Yeah.
Because, I think Bobby Bowden, Joe Paterno, to a lesser extent maybe Lavelle Edwards in their later years, they weren't the glory years.
No, of course not.
It
No.
became harder for those coaches to identify with young players and to deliver the same results. Like Jerry Sloan, who was the coach I covered first and I covered the longest. I think part of the whole Darren Williams thing, honestly, a lot of it gets pinned on Darren. But I think that was the moment Jerry realized, I can't communicate with these players anymore.
Yeah.
My message is being lost.
Yeah.
And Jerry always said, if his heart wasn't in it, he wouldn't coach. And that's why he said he quit.
Yeah.
When he did. He said, my heart, isn't in this thing anymore. And I think it has partly to do with he realized I can't talk to these players anymore to get out of them what I need, And maybe it was an astute observation for Jerry, and I think he had an interesting retirement. Obviously he'd been remarried, and you would see Jerry around town, and it seemed like he did enjoy that. And I think coaches like Gregg Popovich deserve that part of their life, and I think they have a tough time identifying maybe when the right time to merge into that is. Don Nelson has nailed retirement as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Don has had some advantages that neither Jerry nor Pop have, which is his health. I mean, Jerry,
which is very true.
By my understanding, by the time he was interviewing again after leaving the Jazz, which I think he met with Charlotte, and I think he met with Portland.
Sacramento was one.
I have heard that the signs of Lewy body dementia were already apparent from those teams. Now, I haven't heard it from those teams, but people who have covered those teams have told me that was one of the reasons why Jerry didn't get another gig, is because there was worry that his health was not up to where it needed to be. And Pop now has post 2 strokes or at least post 1 stroke and whatever this latest incident was at the restaurant, where he's clearly no longer able to coach. Otherwise, he would have come back. That was his intention, was to come back and coach.
But what does make this interesting, and these things are tough to talk about, but both coaches did lose their
And
wives.
both lost their wives.
While they were still working. And both coaches, I will never forget that year after Bobby Sloan passed and Jerry's demeanor, which really didn't change very much. But his demeanor, the way he dressed, everything was super different. And you could tell that was a dude that just poured himself into his job because his heart was broken.
Yeah.
And Popovich had that too. And I think a lot of us can identify with that, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I feel bad for Gregg Popovich that he doesn't 100% have his health, but maybe it is like an encouragement, like buy that corner of Hawaii, man. You've spent a whole lifetime building all this stuff. Like, try to carve out your golden time that you can't.
He is transitioning to the president of basketball or the team president, different president of basketball for the Spurs.
Because he can't let it go.
Yeah, so I'm not expecting that. And you know what? He has deserved or earned that right. If he wants to stick around, you find a way for him to stick around. With that said, on the court, this is potentially a monumental shift, And I have been on record, I'm not going to back away from it now in light of his retirement, of saying that I don't feel like Pop has had that connection with his players for a while. The same way Jerry ran into it with Darren and was no longer connecting and said, that's enough for me, I'm stepping away. I feel like Pop has crossed that line a while ago. Now, that doesn't mean that, Victor Wembanyama wasn't still very excited to play for him. That was a big reason why he was happy to go to Dallas, which is an important point. But that, DeJounte Murray, some of these guys that he had coached, really he was not able to click with, even though they were all-star level players.
Yeah, like what happened to Bobby Bowden.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I would buy into that, sure.
So while I don't think he's been at his best in his prime for a while now, he still carried an amount of respect and brought it to a particularly weird and not big franchise, though historic, that was mostly him, mostly Popovich's culture, and very little about the people around him. While you can say, oh, well, they had a great GM, or, oh, ownership has done a good job about not meddling because most people don't even know who the owners of the San Antonio Spurs are or what gender they are. It's a woman, by the way. They don't meddle. They don't get in the way. They let Pop do his own thing. I wonder with, R.C. Buford, right? He's been a long time GM or basketball ops or whatever. Look at the comps for Jerry Sloan across the NBA and what happens to franchises when they lose their coach, their longtime head coach, and who has done well. Like the Bulls have been an absolute joke post Phil Jackson. Now you could say that's post Michael, but yeah.
Who was the bozo they hired?
Pick a name out of a hat.
No.
It's
first,
all of them.
No, first, and he was a college guy, and Jerry Krause met him at an airport or something and fell in love with him, and was like, "Oh yeah, pushing Phil out because we got this guy right behind." What was his name? And he turned out to be a giant bozo.
Let me see. I'll pull it up for you real quick. But regardless,
their best coach since Phil was
Tim Floyd.
Yeah, Tim Floyd.
Yeah. Then they had Bill Berry, who coached for 2 games, interim. Bill Cartwright, not good.
Nope.
Disaster. Pete Myers, interim. Scott Skiles, disaster. Jim Boylan, disaster. Vinny Del Negro, disaster. Tom Thibodeau was the best one they had. Hoiberg, Boylan, Billy Donovan. Look at the Jazz post Jerry. I mean, honestly, there's an argument the Jazz have not been great again since Jerry left. They haven't made the conference finals again since Jerry left.
Yeah.
They've had good players. They've had great players. Rudy and Donovan are great players.
And those were some really good teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be overly dramatic about that because I do think Quinn Snyder did a good job.
Agreed. He's a good coach. He's not Jerry level of coach.
They gave Ty a lot of rope, and that was a respect for Jerry thing,
Yep.
but they moved on from him at the appropriate time. I think, honestly, they moved on from Quinn Snyder at the appropriate time.
I agree.
I think that was a natural time to do it. So I don't know if I 100% buy into that. I buy into what you're saying. Following the guy is pert near impossible because of the standards that coach sets.
The Knicks post Pat Riley?
Morgan Scalley should, if he's the guy at Utah, which he's been named the next up, right? That's a lot of pressure. You got to keep it rolling. You know what I mean?
But it's a big deal because, if you can fail in New York or you can fail in Chicago, which are these awesome cities and places where players seem to want to live and have built somewhat good winning cultures. I mean, the Knicks in the 90s were one of the teams in the NBA. The Bulls were the team in the NBA. San Antonio doesn't have that cachet. No one's moving to San Antonio. Now, no one really has ever moved to San Antonio other than there's such a respect for Pop that players were okay getting drafted there or liked the idea of going and playing for a legendary head coach, and there was a ton of buy-in. Like, the shift in the NBA might be that San Antonio 25 years from now, we're looking back and saying, oh, they never got back. Even though they have a Victor Wembanyama and have back-to-back Rookie of the Year candidates, it's like, would Wemby have wanted to get drafted by San Antonio if Pop was gone and there wasn't that French connection anymore? Probably not. Like, why would he? So that was my first thought, other than, wow, Pop's had an unbelievable run and might be the best head coach in league history, that, like, San Antonio might get wiped off the map in the NBA, which is not something we've been able to say since 1997. And really 1990 when David Robinson got there, but really when they were winning titles and have been at least respected, if not relevant, since.
Okay, to a couple of things from what you're talking about, and let's go back to the bozo following genius concept for a second, right? Is it because all these places are hiring bozos, or is it something else? And I would argue, how many of these legendary coaches went out with a legendary player, or not a legendary player, but like the next player? You know what I mean? Uh-huh. Like when Jerry went out, Boozer was already gone. The Al Jefferson thing wasn't going to work. And Darren Williams, the rumblings had already started about how he was going to go. He already signed the short-term extension and had been quite public about why he signed the short-term extension. The writing was already on the wall. You know what I mean? And not that that's why Jerry did it, but that was the situation. So it's not like Ty was inheriting, an all-star team or what was going to become an all-star team. The talent level at BYU was not where it was in the 80s and early 90s when Lavelle left it to Croton.
Right.
Now, there was that residuals for that 1 year with Brandon Doman and Luke Staley, but it wasn't like the program was loaded with talent to win conferences for years to come. And college is a little different, but I think you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So whoever gets this next job is getting the next player, is getting the next LeBron, or at least that's what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
There's
of course
room to go, but that's what everybody thinks. This is a really great job. San Antonio job.
Okay.
This is a really great job. And one thing that, and I don't know, give the franchise credit for this. They've built a basketball community in San Antonio, because you do not look at it and go, wow, I really want to live in San Antonio. But what they did was create a basketball lifestyle down there. The reason LaMarcus Aldridge went to San Antonio when he was the big free agent on the market was because I think he either already lived there in the community, or that was something that he really wanted to be a part of. It was this big off-the-court kind of draw. So I think it's a little different. And I would guess that that's part of what the Jazz under Linda Lucchetti, remember back when she kind of really started the embrace the family.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was something that came from San Antonio, where Dennis Lindsey came from, right? And so San Antonio can be a sneaky, attractive destination for guys because the weather's always good, and they can sell it as it's a sleepy place with a good basketball community where you're going to get better. But if it were me and I were a coach of pretty much any team, I'd be like, I want that Spurs job right now.
Oh, interesting. You do want to follow the guy.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have Wemby, which is the great thing.
That's it.
That's it, yeah.
That's it. Nothing else matters. You can coach. You can be the next guy to coach Wemby. That's it. You're set up for success for the next whatever if you can connect with him and have success. That'd be all I'd consider. I'd leave almost any job in the NBA right now to take that Spurs job.
The front runner is going to be Taylor Jenkins to take that job.
Oh, he'd be the luckiest man alive if he gets that job.
Gets fired 2 weeks left or 3 weeks left in the regular season.
And then lands that. Are you kidding? He's not that lucky.
He's a Spurs guy, right? He's a Pop guy. He also worked with Quinn with the Austin Toros, right? So they've got that. They've got that thing. He's going to be the front runner for sure.
Well, listen, the Spurs don't get caught up in the we need a pop guy. I've never understood that. At least don't make that entirely.
You're going to
North Carolina won't hire anybody that's not a North Carolina guy, and that's how you get Bill Guthridge, who loses with a dang All-American team.
Right.
You take the guy who's going to be hire the guy who's going to be the best for Wemby. Have they announced it, Christian?
Shams just tweeted they are hiring assistant Mitch Johnson as the franchise's next head coach.
That guy just hit the dang lottery if he has half a brain.
Well, he was the interim, so he's being promoted to the full-time. He was the interim and was – and look, Wemby got hurt. He had the deep bone thrombosis and was out for the year. He'll be there for 2 years. You know what I mean? Which is, that's the nature of coaching. That's a safe bet for everybody. They're going to be there for 2 years.
Guy, he's been there a decade.
Yeah.
The expectations are going to be through the roof with Wemby. They just are. You've got another lottery pick. You've got 2 lottery picks this year. You just won the Rookie of the Year again last year. You've got De'Aaron Fox. The expectations are going to be this guy's got to start winning playoffs immediately. Otherwise, and this is where it changes. This is already the impact we're going to start to feel. How quickly is the clock ticking on Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio now that he no longer has the pop tie? Because the pop tie is the Boris Diaw and the Tony Parker French tie. That's why there was this excitement about Wemby going there, because they have this history of great French players that have succeeded there. Now that Pop is gone, even though I know he's moving into a team president role, those questions of the clock is ticking are going to hit so much quicker now in San Antonio than they have at any point while Popovich was coaching the team.
Now we're getting to another extraordinarily fascinating part of the story, Ben. The Rasputin takeover. I would love to know how many interviews this guy passed on. That he's like, no way, I'm not going to interview. No, I'm staying. Pop can't be here forever. Just landed Wemby. He's invested 10 years into the thing. He's like, nope. Like Morgan Scally. And Morgan, I'm not calling you a Rasputin. But Morgan Scally, how many interviews do you think?
Not taking Boise.
Yeah, how many interviews do you think he's passed on?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he wants
Cal, whatever jobs he could have.
He wants that.
Absolutely. There was a belief by some here that Quinn Snyder was holding on to the Jazz job until the Spurs job came open. And then was going to bolt the Jazz to take the Spurs job.
So it's interesting. I mean, seriously, Mitch Johnson just hit the lottery. He's coaching the next best player in the league. And because he's stayed and was loyal and probably, picked up some laundry once in a while, and now he's coaching the next guy. I think he'll be there for longer than 2 years if they're smart.
I think he's going to face his own uprising with the players and lose control.
Ooh, a mutiny?
Uh-huh.
Why would there be a mutiny?
Because Pop's out. It's a power grab. That's just what happens.
Yeah, and Mitch grabbed it.
He's a nobody. With all due respect to Mitch.
Oh, man, don't doubt the Rasputin.
What is he, 31 years old? 32? He's a baby.
Oh, the first thing you should do is cut De'Aaron Fox.
Well, that's the thing. Right. You have De'Aaron Fox there now. You have a clutch guy there. You've got 2 more lottery picks there now.
You're totally right.
Yeah, he's my age.
You're totally right. You got to bump Clutch out of there or you're in trouble. I totally am reversing my opinion.
Yeah.
They got to keep Adele off the phone or else that's who's running the show.
Again, the Spurs have really been irrelevant for a long time on the floor. They've had some good players, DeMar, LaMarcus, as you mentioned. DeJounte has been an okay player, and you get Wemby, and there's a lot of eyes on you. They haven't done anything meaningful on the court since Tim Duncan left the team.
Yeah. Ben.
So you lose the power structure that you do have there in place, which is Gregg Popovich, and it can crumble quickly.
Oh, man, you've got my mind spinning, and I know we're up against it. But how long until Wemby is a Clutch client?
Well,
how long?
He's in the ear immediately.
He's
got Rudy's agent right now, the French guy.
Oh, that guy's on the outs.
Guy's about to be toast.
Adele is in town. If it happens, if it happens, you have to tell me on air that I am never wrong, ever.
You were just saying he's going to be there for 10 years.
So Adele orchestrated De'Aaron Fox. Adele made that happen.
Okay, that actually is true.
Was the De'Aaron Fox trade, that was after the stroke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she saw the signs. She was okay, let's get in on this.
She saw it. She's like, how do I get Wemby as a client? Well, first of all, I get in the door.
We need a plant.
And that's De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron.
And now Adele is calling Wemby 3 times a day. What do you bet me it happens? That's how Adele stays relevant post LeBron. We're seeing it.
I know it sounds dramatic. I know it sounds dramatic.
We are seeing it.
But there's a real chance. Yeah, we're seeing the end of the San Antonio Spurs the way we have known them for 30 years now.
Oh, I don't know about that because Wemby's that good. That's
While
why
he's in San Antonio. Right. There's no reason for people to stay in San Antonio anymore. That's the thing. Yeah, you are now the team that gets...
I'm still seeing that part different than you are on that. I don't think Pop was the magic in San Antonio, or at least not all of it.
He's going to get pilfered. The entire Spurs are going to get pilfered. And the other aspect of it, which we can get into later, is just the number of coaches in the NBA that have come directly from Pop because he has been the standard bearer.
And most of them have sucked.
Yeah, not everyone is great. It's successful because there are so many, including Will Hardy and Dennis Lindsey and obviously Quinn Snyder and the ties that they've had that have come directly through the San Antonio organization. Mm-hmm. That's gone, though, right? That shifts to somebody new. And whether that's Ime's guys, which Ime's a Spurs guy too, we're going to have a new kind of top of the castle that everything rolls off of.
Dude, Jacques Vaughn got like 3 jobs because he said he was San Antonio's top guy.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't good at any of them.
Was Jordi Fernandez right now, right? Was Brooklyn? There was the guy who was terrible in Charlotte. Yeah.
All right.
Pop has gotten people a lot of jobs.
Oh, the process guy was a San Antonio guy, right? Brent Brown?
Yeah, of course.
Top 3 stories coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Utah Jazz select.
Do you believe in karma? Well, we here at the KSL Sports Zone absolutely believe in creating good vibes for the Utah Jazz in their hopes of securing the #1 pick in the NBA Draft Lottery. Go to KSLSports.com to donate $2 to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital.
Wait, why $2? And isn't that the jersey number of...
Bob, it's just a random number, okay? Just stick to the copy.
It's a real 2-for-1. Your donation will help Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital and help the Utah Jazz capture the Good Karma flag in their hopes of recouping winning basketball in Utah.
Fingers crossed, guys.
Donate your $2 right now at KSLSports.com. It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love. With J. Brooks Jewelers, explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. Christian, did you blow it out with the birthday gift for the wife?
Yeah, I took her to Disneyland.
Yeah, they went to Disneyland.
Oh, that was the gift?
What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean that's
that
the
was
gift?
the gift? It's $500 to get into the door.
It's not about like the money. I could buy into it.
You
I
did
guess.
say, did you blow it out for your wife on the gift? The first thing you said was, did you blow it out on the gift? Which it means, did you spend a bunch of money on her?
No, it means did you go to Jay Brooks and grab a rock, you know?
Okay. He got her a rock already.
Okay. I see what you're doing.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Did you go get her a nice necklace or something? That's all.
I'll save that for Christmas.
I'm not trying to shame you about your Disney gift.
Sounds like he is.
I was just trying to promote.
Took her to Disneyland?
Just trying to promote Jay Brooks Jewelers. Leave me alone.
You just went to Maui?
We love
Okay.
Jay Brooks Jewelers. All right. Where do you want to start, Christian?
Let's start with this at number 1. New York Knicks. They bounced Detroit.
And a great performance. And exactly why you go out and get Jalen Brunson. 40 points on the road in a closeout game. Had struggled being defended by Asar Thompson, the lesser of the Thompson brothers, but still an extraordinary defender. And then with the game on the line, they come back and he crosses Asar Thompson out of the entire arena and hits a 3 with 3 seconds left to win the series.
Bing bang.
Can I You're probably a smarter X's and O's basketball guy than me. But can you explain to me why on earth, against that particular player, Jalen Brunson, and players like him, would you just play him straight up? He's not going to pass. You know he wants the crossover highlight on SportsCenter and all this, and I'm the most clutch player in the league and all this stuff. Just double him. At the very least, you could justify, I'm trying to get it out of his hands because I'd rather have
anybody
whoever.
else. And they
take
were at a
the shot.
disadvantage because Cat had fouled out, and Cat's probably your second best option there to shoot. So, yes, if you double him, he's passing it to, Bridges, or he's passing it over to OG Anunoby, or he's passing, I don't even know who was on the court at the time. I'd have to go back and actually see. Because, to your point, everybody was watching Jalen Brunson. Now, to be fair, Ausar had truly locked him up all game. I mean, he couldn't get shots off. There were 24-second violations.
In the fourth quarter. I got it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know.
He was awesome. But, yeah, I mean, that you're right. If your entire thought process is he's not going to beat me, you double him. Which, you go back in the history of the Jazz, and they've been bitten by that snake named Michael Jordan in both ways. Because they double him, and he kicks it to Steve Kerr, and Steve Kerr hits a game winner in the first finals, and they try to double him in the second one, and Jeff Hornacek can't hear Gordy Chiesa yelling on the other side of Delta Center, and doesn't go over there and double Michael, and what does Michael do? Pushes Brian Russell out of the way and hits a 18-footer. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 with great players, but I'm with you.
Well, listen, I mean, JB Bickerstaff, honestly, I'm assuming is a pretty smart fellow, I'm guessing. And you know how much I love defense, Ben. I do. I think it's under-talked about and underrated. But the simple fact in sports, and you could apply this to football too, is good offense given time will always win because the offensive player knows what they're going to do. The defensive player does not. It's why getting the ball out on time is like a guy, it's actually the opposite. A guy like Ben Roethlisberger who can hold the ball for 20 minutes, the receiver is going to get open eventually because they know where they're going to go, and the defensive player does not. The best defensive players are the ones that can stymie it, at least for long periods of time, right? So Brunson, if he's allowed to take 10 seconds to dribble and set up a crossover, he's probably going to win that battle. Now, then he has to make the shot and all that stuff. But you got to know he's taking the shot. You got to know that he's the one they want to take the shot and make him do something else. I don't understand why you would ever play that play straight up. That doesn't even make sense. And after Brunson started yo-yoing it, Ben, run someone at him then.
Sure.
You know?
I know, I get it.
I don't
do get
get how smart coaches make dumb decisions. And this one is one that's made a lot.
Hey, JB pulled Ausar Thompson out of the game with 4 minutes left and maybe it's 3 minutes left, and just let the Knicks score on 4 straight possessions as soon as he came out of the game. Like, they saw that he was out of the game, and they took off. That game shouldn't have ever gotten this close because he never should have taken Ausar off the floor. That was another JB Bickerstaff mistake late in that game. But, I mean, to your point, even though I think this is a fake award and I don't recognize it, the NBA Clutch Player of the Year this year was Jalen Brunson. That
is stupid. I agree. But, yeah.
I mean, to the point where he has hit the most clutch shots in the NBA and performed super well at this level. I mean, again, it's why you go and get this guy. This what he does best is make these shots. He's great at this. And he's done it all over. He's always hit these shots. He's a very clutch player, and they left the ball in his hands. So, to your point, I think that's fair.
So, I don't understand that one. And you know what? We'll see another coach do it too. And I just don't understand. I don't understand the mentality of Jalen Brunson has to take the final shot. But that's what they want to do. Why would you let him do it?
Yeah.
Isn't that the number one rule of defense? Like, get them off their spots? Like, don't let them do what they want to do.
Don't let them run their thing.
No.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Number 2, we got Game 6 tonight between the Rockets and Warriors. And grab your popcorn for tomorrow. We've got Game 7, Clippers and Nuggets. That's tomorrow.
Warriors have a chance to close it out. I suspect they will. It felt very much like we're on the road. We're going to give it an effort early. If it doesn't work out, we're going back home and we're going to win this thing in 6. It's exactly what the Jazz did the Oklahoma City Thunder in Donovan Mitchell's first year. Jazz were up 20 in the first half of that game. Jay Crowder, I think, was on fire. And then Paul George comes out and is like, we're not going out at home this way. And famously, Donovan Mitchell walks off the floor like, see ya. We're not coming back here. We're not going to be here for a Game 7. This thing's over. And they were right. And we see this a lot. When you win, when you're the lower seed, you generally win in Game 6. And with the experience the Warriors have, must win for the Rockets. I don't know if the Rockets can get this game.
Unless they do one thing, and then they might do it, Ben. Let's pick out a different example. How did the Warriors beat the Kawhi Leonard-led Spurs?
Sure. You start throwing ankle. You start taking ankles.
Zaza got out there, and he slid under Kawhi.
Yeah. Which, by the way, has been a talking point that Dylan Brooks continues to, the high five motion.
Yeah, no, he hits his wrist.
Trying to hit his thumb right now because his thumb specifically is all messed up and it's tied up. But, you could see them. Then the Rockets are not below that.
The Warriors are complaining about it, and then you go back into the footage and you find Draymond Green doing the exact same thing.
Even pre-Draymond. Do you remember when the Jazz made the conference finals? Do you remember how dirty Steven Jackson and the Baron Davis teams were towards the Jazz when the Jazz were up, I think, 3-1, and the Rockets were just like, we're just going to beat you up for the 5th game and hurt you. And they tried, and the Jazz got out of it and won in 5, I think, when they beat
the Warriors.
The Warriors in that run to the conference finals. But, yeah, this is not new. And the Warriors are the least innocent team in the last 20 years of anybody.
And I don't think anybody should go out there and play dirty, but Houston might.
Yeah, teams might. And then, yes, tomorrow, as you mentioned, Game 7. Clippers won last night, played very well. But, Nikola Jokic at home in a Game 7. It's probably where I'm trending, but the Nuggets aren't always nails at home, even though that's historically been their advantage with the altitude. And I think so far in the series, the Clippers have been the better team.
I think it all depends on the Clippers.
Okay.
I think the Nuggets are a one-man band. Jamal Murray may give you a lot. He may give you kind of a lot, but I think it depends on which Clippers team shows up. That's been this whole series, right?
Yeah.
It's been even what was it, Game 1, Ben, where the Nuggets won? Was it overtime?
Yeah,
it was like
overtime.
2-point game or whatever. The Clippers dominated that game.
Yeah, they were
and turned it over 21 times or whatever it was, and basically lost it. So even in Denver, Mile High, whatever, I think if the Clippers show up, they should beat the Nuggets. The Nuggets, I mean, we got on the Sommelier for good reason, basically all week. The Nuggets have a bozo that's never done it before either.
Adelman is interesting.
Yeah,
we'll
Game 7?
And this is where, honestly, the interesting battle here is Ty Lue, Clippers head coach, versus Nikola Jokic. Jokic is the greatest player on the planet. Ty Lue, I've said it a lot, they call him the chiropractor because he can make every adjustment. And last night
he's a really good coach.
He threw Nick Batum out there all of a sudden, and the Nuggets were like, no, that's not fair. You can't have 36-year-old guy who drains threes and is big and plays great defense coming into the series now. So do they have an adjustment to make in Game 7? We'll see. I'm excited for it.
I do. I like that about Ty Lue. That he's almost the anti-Quinn Snyder.
He's absolutely the anti-Quinn Snyder.
In that sense.
And it's why he danced circles around him in that playoff series.
Where Quinn Snyder was like, no. The math is going to play out.
The math doesn't change.
If we let it go long enough.
The math will not change.
The math is going to play out.
Sunday, if needed, Warriors will take on the Rockets. And we do know that Game 1 of the Pacers-Cavaliers will be played that day.
All right, what's next?
Number 3, according to Brett McMurphy, our own Southern Utah University, their athletic department is under investigation for potential Title IX violations in multiple sports.
What did you do?
Not me. I've been out of there.
Okay, yeah, but your culture lingers. You poison that place. Per Brett McMurphy, a source said it's toxic. Quote, absolutely toxic.
I will be patient to see details as they emerge, but I mean, if the feds are stepping in, that's probably some pretty bad news. They don't do that because they want to. You know what I mean?
But we have also seen one person have a bad experience at a school or in an administration somewhere and say, like, I hate it here. This place is toxic. Right. And 9 other people are like, this is exactly how it works everywhere, or this is actually better than most places, and this is your first job you've ever had. I get that you feel like the competition or the stress of this job makes it feel toxic. Welcome to the real world. So I'm with you. I'm not saying that's what's happening.
I'm going to be patient.
But I'm going to be patient and hear all the facts.
It is worth noting that the athletic director, Doug Knuth, was the athletic director at Nevada when they struggled with Title IX violations not too long ago.
Okay.
So
worth watching.
Yeah.
And you're under investigation too, Christian.
I'm sending some texts out.
Is that why you were gone for the last 4 days?
Yeah.
Were you sitting in a chair in a dark room getting grilled by the feds? I
was, you can't get it out of me. I'm not talking.
So you have burn marks all over your body.
Listen, we don't like talking about this stuff, but in all honesty, and I know it's been a roller coaster at Utah State, but they had a real problem.
Yeah, major problem. Very serious problem. I'm not trying to make light of the idea.
No. I know you're not. And again, I want to be patient and stay balanced and whatever, but these are serious issues if they, in fact, prove out to be issues. And that's the whole point of all of this. So Utah State had a real problem, and some attention on it has hopefully fixed some things that really needed to be fixing. So if things need to be fixed at Southern Utah in this sense, whatever Title IX sense it is, let's get some attention on it and fix it.
See what's going on. Yeah, absolutely. Take it seriously. And they are.
All right, stay tuned. More Jake and Ed next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Big T Thurl Bailey joining us.
It's so weird that the fate of a franchise can come down to a random drawing, but that's just how it is in the NBA. Is it too much hyperbole to call this one of the most important moments in franchise history?
Look, it's not a perfect science, but I don't think it's hyperbole at all, because your goal is to hopefully get the top pick. I mean, that's not just your goal, but the other teams that are involved in that as well. But again, it may not happen. But there's some great players coming out in the top 5. I know everybody's talking Cooper Flag this and Cooper Flag that, but I think there's definitely talent there that can help the Jazz continue to progress based on maybe what they're trying to do with all their other assets. But no, I don't believe it's hyperbole at all. It's a really important time, and there are going to be a lot of eyes on it.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, want to remind you, you can win big every Wednesday on the KSL Sports Zone with Win Ticket Wednesday. This Wednesday, you can win tickets to Eric Church at the free The Machine Tour, October 23rd at Delta Center. Find your tickets on SeatGeek starting on Friday, May 9th at 10 o'clock with a special pre-sale starting on Tuesday. And listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day on Wednesday, of course, for your chance to win on Win Ticket Wednesday. Ben, we've been talking
a lot of different days
on the air and off the air a lot about Gregg Popovich as he's... taking a cushy front office job / retiring, not going to be the coach anymore. And we didn't talk very much about his controversial relationship with the media and how he just enjoyed humiliating reporters. And I found it funny at first, but I got to admit, and especially after watching it in person several times, it's a little tiresome.
I thought it was obnoxious. I didn't think it was that cute. I thought it was... a power imbalance that he took advantage of, which I think is really a crappy thing to do, whether it's you're a boss of somebody or whatever. But yeah, in that situation where you're the head coach and you're a legendary head coach and you're a Hall of Famer and you can talk down to people who are trying to do their job for the most part, good question or bad, they're trying to do something to do their job. Not everybody. Some people are there to schmooze. I've seen it. Some people are there to look cool. I've seen it. But I've also seen him kill a lot of people who are trying to get a soundbite from him or get a quote from him on something that they have a reason they're doing it and he doesn't play along.
Yeah, I agree. And I used to think it was just him swatting bad questions because I'm sure coaches get tired at sitting there and fielding bad question after bad question because there are a lot of them. I've asked a ton of bad questions. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of part of the thing. Yeah. And some media members are more insightful than others. But at one point, I figured out that he's just picking on people to do it. Because what he would do, and you can see this, he would take questions extraordinarily literally and then talk down as to why that was a stupid question.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Like, what does your team need to do to get better? Some that's just a basic question. He just wants you to talk about areas that you can improve as a team.
Yeah.
And he, and I'm referring to one specific instance, would say, what every basketball team has to get good at, and then proceeds to list every element of basketball.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, rebounding, dribbling, passing, it's like, okay, thanks. We're just looking for you to say, we got to be tougher on defense. And I get it that you don't want to be here and you don't want to answer the thing, but it's part of your job, and we're just trying to do ours to agree with you.
Yeah. Never got that treatment from Pop. Not
didn't
because
either.
he knew who I was at all.
Probably the contrary, actually. The fact that he didn't know who you were it led to it.
And look, I knew some tricks with Pop. Like, I knew what would get a bad answer and what would get a good answer. So I asked him about, because I had heard that one of Pop's things that he did is he assigned his assistants all the scouting for the opposing teams, where previously it was not uncommon for the head coach to be in on that. And Pop learned it from Jerry Sloan. So I asked him if that was true, that he had adopted that from watching Jerry. And he gave a good answer on the things that he had taken from the Jazz. I wish I could find it. I don't even think I was writing at the time. I think I was purely doing radio. So I don't have any reason of having the sound still, but he gave me a good answer. But he liked Jerry, he respected Jerry, and he was never going to say anything crappy about Jerry Sloan. So in a way, I cheated asking a question that I knew he'd give me a good answer. I asked him one about the difference in size between, a normal 6'11" guy and a Rudy Gobert who is extraordinary strength or length, and how that actually changes the dynamics of the floor. And he talked about it, and it was great. But I have seen him hammer people for innocuous, at worst, questions.
Right.
Not harmful questions, not mean questions, not gotcha questions. And he used his power to abuse people, which was crappy. That's a stupid thing to do. So I won't miss that.
No.
And he liked to gatekeep. He had his people. He brought people in, notoriously great about putting his arm around Will Hardy and ushering him into a head coaching job. And I'm sure Quinn Snyder, post everything that happened to him at Missouri and how toxic he was as a hire to get the Austin Toros job and get brought back in, I'm sure Quinn has a part of him that feels like Pop saved his life. I get that. But Pop could have shared that more than he did, and he chose to be picky with it, which I think he probably did to a point where it became a negative at times.
Want to remind you about Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255. Peach Doors and Windows. We're going to be at Peach next Tuesday.
Excited.
So you're a chance to drop by in person. All right, stay tuned. More next, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Don't miss Minky Monday on the KSL Sports Zone. Tune in all day Monday on May 5th, which is next Monday, to win Minky Couture blankets, the original classy blanket. Minky Couture makes the perfect Mother's Day gift, and Zone listeners get 50% off with code ZONE50. Don't miss Minky Monday on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Steve Smith, unfortunately, his affairs, no pun intended.
Steve On?
Steve On continues to find himself in hot water.
Oh, what'd he do?
Following up on the story, I remember Steve On.
Yeah, reset this one for us.
Apparently found a romantic partner in a Baltimore Ravens cheerleader. Steve On is married.
He is?
As was the cheerleader. The husband of the cheerleader, or whatever she was, dancer, whatever it was, found the tweets or the texts or whatever the texts.
Yeah.
And publicly outed them, right? He took it to Twitter and shared screenshots. But
he also called Steve On, right?
He did. He called Steve On and recorded it and put that out there.
And Steve On certainly did not deny it.
He did not deny it. Now, there's actually not that much sultry or there's not bad photos circulating of Steve On. He avoided that. Good for him.
All right.
But this latest from Yahoo, Steve On, can be sued under North Carolina's alienation of affection law. According to the Charlotte Observer, the law allows a spouse to sue a third party for destroying a marriage. It's also known as the, quote, homewrecker law. In order for the lawsuit to be proven, the man must show there was genuine love in the relationship before Smith got involved. But he's being sued via the homewrecker law.
He is being sued, or it just can be?
I believe it says he is going to be sued, yeah.
That's a very North Carolina.
He is being sued for it, yeah.
That's a very North Carolina Bible Belty kind of law.
Correct.
That's interesting that's a thing. I wonder how many people actually get sued for it.
He is suing Steve On for $100,000, which is not that much, actually. $100,000.
No.
according to the Charlotte Observer.
Wow. That's rough. That's rough.
This is Drake trying to sue Kendrick Lamar for the song being played too much. They not like us.
Oh, no. This is, I disagree. This is what that dentist was doing to Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, yeah, a shakedown. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's no way Stevon wants to sit down for any sort of deposition in all of this.
No, you're right.
He's just going to cut a check. And honestly, it might be for more than 100 gur for this guy just to go away.
Pretty brutal for this guy who's going to continue to hurt his own reputation.
What's your reputation worth? Whatever. He doesn't care. Just move to a different state.
The hard part saying that you have, in order for the lawsuit to be proven, the man must show there was genuine love in the relationship. Feels like this guy is setting himself up to be dunked on harder than any man has ever been dunked on in a court.
It doesn't matter. It's never getting there. Not a chance.
I don't know if Steve has to go to court until this guy can prove that his wife loved him, which seems like a really difficult thing to do.
It's not. You're thinking too Law and Ordery here. There's all sorts of stuff that goes into that to like proving that or disproving that, meaning everybody involved is going to have to sit down and go on the record.
So his wife just says, "I didn't love you."
But you don't understand. It's the process. It doesn't just stop at that. The wife does it. You have to like look into it and prove one way or another. The wife just can't simply go, all right, lawsuit over. I didn't love him. That's not how it works.
We'll see.
You have to go through all the process. Everybody has to be answer all sorts of questions.
This man is sideshow bobbing himself, just stepping on rake after rake and it flipping up and hitting him in the face.
I think this guy's a genius.
This man is very clearly not a genius.
I think this guy's a genius. Because there's no way. He got a check yesterday. Guarantee it.
Stevon Smith has made what do we think, $40 million in his career, embarrassing lesser men for a living. It's what he does. His job was to embarrass people on the football field. Stevon's going to line this guy up and knock him
How
down.
much do you think Stevon liked getting embarrassed himself?
Would he pay $80,000 to go away? I don't know. At this point, it's already out there. Maybe you do. Maybe this is where you go and dunk on him.
There's more than just that out there, I assure you.
We'll see. I'm excited to watch it.
There's always more than just that out there.
I haven't liked the playbook of the husband.
What happens if all of a sudden other people start coming forward?
Out of the woodwork?
You see that steamrolling.
Sure.
You think, I don't know Stevon, so I shouldn't wave things around too lightly, honestly. Is this the first time? Is there other stuff out there? Like, there is no way that this goes any further.
You think he gets a check?
Absolutely.
We'll see. I think it's a
Cut
high
it
bar.
yesterday.
I think it's a high bar to prove.
Ben, great guess. $81 million career.
$81 million.
What a wonderful guess.
So yes, to that point, that guy originally was like, "Can we get 50?" And then he looked at the salary and said $81 million. Was like, "No, bump it up to $100 million or $100,000 we can get out of him," which like is a lot. How much would you have to seriously? Because this guy is embarrassing himself, right? He's being made fun of in a radio station in Salt Lake City, and we are far from the only one and far from the most cruel.
See, I don't know if we're even making fun of him.
No,
I
we're
feel
not.
bad for this guy. I honestly, like, people clown him for like cell phone or whatever, and I don't get living stuff out in public or whatever, but he was clearly hurt.
Yeah,
and he's
he was
clearly
hurt, but
not the
airing
person.
all of his dirty laundry.
He's not the person in the wrong. He should be compensated, honestly.
No, you don't get compensated for that.
If anybody should. This guy
He has
should.
a good lawyer.
I demand
He has a good lawyer.
compensation.
That's what he's doing.
That is what he's doing.
But he's the one who is wronged. He is the victim.
That may be true.
He absolutely is the victim. So why is it such a cell phone clown thing to talk about being a victim of something like that? I don't think it's funny. I don't think that.
But that is the Drake aspect of it, which is you got into a rap battle, which is essentially, you got into a love triangle. This man did, which they're trying to prove it wasn't a love triangle. It was a non-genuine love triangle. But this man found himself in a love triangle and lost and is now saying, well, you have to give me money for that.
No, if it's a love triangle, you are doing that of your own will. This guy was just minding his own dang business and was betrayed by his spouse with somebody else. Now, this guy should not be mad at Stevon. Here's what I don't understand. He should be mad at his spouse.
Well, clearly he is mad at his spouse, and you get mad at the other person too. I get that. I'm sure he's mad at the other person as well.
But
his wife hasn't made $80 million.
That's correct.
Cut him a check.
Is the victim here.
Sure, yeah, I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying that he wasn't the one who seems like he was ultimately wronged here. Now, I don't know anything about their marriage. Maybe he was an absent husband. Who knows what's going to come out? He's clearly okay with whatever is going to come out because he has put himself in the spotlight. And you're right. Maybe she and Stephon Smith don't want to get to that point and will make it go away by cutting a check. But I don't think there's any way you look at this and don't think this guy has embarrassed himself.
I don't know, man. I feel bad for this dude. Can I tell you, just as long as we're going with random stories.
We can move on.
I think there are certain organizations out there, Ben, we've talked about this a lot, that are buttoned up and really good organizations, and there are some that are not. I think Indiana, the Pacers over the years, have been a really pretty buttoned up franchise.
Sure.
And probably have punched above their weight in the win department if you look at it long term. And I know they haven't won a championship per se, but they have been far from a laughingstock and kind of like the Jazz right there for the most part during its run.
I'm trying to think back just off the top of my head. I can pull it up quickly. Yeah, what's the low point of the Pacers? And the obvious one is the Malice in the Palace.
But that was a good team.
That's because they were a great team battling with another great team, and it spilled over.
Yeah.
But those were very high-level teams. Like, Pacers never had a number one pick in my lifetime.
I don't
think so.
think
back. Like, I don't know if they've even had a good draft pick in my lifetime.
The years post Paul George were kind of a little up in the air before they made the trade for Tyrese Haliburton. But to your point, even that wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, their low point is that they traded Kawhi Leonard, right? They drafted him on draft night and got rid of him.
But that's not what, I mean.
That's not a low point. That's what
mistake.
Could have been.
Yeah, that's not a bad. I don't look at that as an example of a not very buttoned up franchise necessarily. Agreed. I think Indiana's an example of that. And here's an example of why I think that. Shams reports, after conversations with Tyrese Haliburton's father, John Haliburton, and the Indiana Pacers front office, John Haliburton will not attend the team's home and road games for the foreseeable future, a Pacers spokesperson told ESPN. Here's what I love about this, Ben. Not only that a bozo like John Haliburton is going to be prohibited from embarrassing his son and the league and the whoever going forward, or at least for the foreseeable future. But I love that the Pacers are taking control of the situation and not just bending over backwards to their star player. And actually, given Tyrese Haliburton's response after the game, I'm sure he went right along with this, which I think says something about him too. But the Pacers are like, listen, Tyrese, you're great, but we're not going to put up with this.
Yeah.
I bet if Tyrese were on a different team, like
the Memphis Grizzlies,
or a much less buttoned up organization, none of this happens. This isn't a league reaction. It'd be one thing if the very pale Adam Silver was like, you can't go to games. This is the franchise being like, we're not doing this. And Tyrese is great, but we're not going to do this.
I've told this story on the air, but I'll tell it again. I was sitting in Taylor Jenkins's pregame press conference. And he's sitting down and he's talking, and out of nowhere, a man who I briefly thought was Usher, but was actually T. Morant, Ja's dad, who, by the way, I've heard nice things about Ja's dad.
Tim hung out with him at a game this year and loved him, yeah.
But I was sitting there in a group with 10 people talking to Taylor Jenkins. And T. Morant pokes his head in and says something loud. And not vulgar or anything. I can't remember what he said, but he just like made himself known. And I looked at Taylor Jenkins, and it was like, it was exasperation. It was exhaustion. It was just like, I'm in Salt Lake City working a game. This dude is always here, and he's loud, and he's like, I have to think about him. I'm trying to do one of the, most highly paid elite jobs on the planet where your life is always on the line. And I'm also dealing with T. Morant. I felt the weight of that person being in every building he's ever been in, and in the tunnel, and at practice, and on the sidelines, and everything tied to it in an instant. And yes, what were they doing? That entire organization is kowtowed to Ja Morant, including letting his father do whatever he wants, and look at what Ja has done as a result. You gave him an inch, and he took a mile.
Yep.
And he's become a bit of a disgrace of a player. He doesn't take it seriously off the floor. There's questions about how seriously he takes it on the floor. So yes, to your point, your dad does something similar, and instead of saying, that's Tyrese or that's John Haliburton. That's just the character, but he's our best player, so we got to do whatever he says because we're the Indiana Pacers. We're not the Los Angeles Lakers. We got to let him do whatever he wants. They said, you're not welcome at our games anymore, period. He's not. For the foreseeable future, maybe that's next year he comes back.
Well, I'm sure there's stuff he can earn, like it sounds like we're talking about a child, but yeah, like earn, you can handle it.
But
again.
This is mortifying, right? If you're John Haliburton or Tyrese Haliburton and your dad gets banned.
This is embarrassing.
You have talked about people yelling at like children's league coaches or referees and like how like you put your hand, it's the face palm thing. It's the rubbing your eyes thing.
The bridge of your nose.
The bridge of your nose.
The Stan Marsh.
Can you imagine being Tyrese and your dad makes a headline? Or
no.
And then the team you play for has to make an example out of him? The fact that they have the relationship with Tyrese, or at least the guts as an organization to say we're better than that, we're bigger than that, I'm with you. I think it's a great sign. That's a bright green flag.
But see, this isn't this is something that plagues other organizations, not just with parents. Like this, I'm convinced is part of the reason the Rockets never succeeded with James Harden.
Yes.
They totally just bent over backwards to do whatever he wanted. They adjust the team flights. They adjusted how long they stay in markets. They totally changed everything just to please one player. You know, you mentioned the Lakers saying, well, we're not the Lakers have now are about to do it for the second time in a row, where they just gave everything to LeBron.
Yeah.
And now they're just going to give everything to Luka. After you brought it up yesterday, right when it was happening, but J.J. Redick blasted Luka for being fat.
Yeah.
What do you bet me that J.J. Redick is not the coach after next year?
Yeah, I think there's a real chance.
And that Luka remains fat.
Yeah, there's a chance. Oh, and that
like it's a stupid example, but Eastern European techno music is now being played in warm-ups for the Lakers. It's no longer whatever LeBron is loving at the moment. It sounds like something stupid, but that stuff is important to players, and they bully. Yeah. It's a way that they show their dominance. And so, like, it is – I think the Jazz were in danger of doing it with Donovan Mitchell, honestly.
Yeah.
It could have gone down that road.
And yeah, you're lucky.
It might not have, but it could have gone down that road.
You're lucky that Donovan didn't have people around him that wanted to do that.
Right.
Donovan's mom had no interest in doing that. His sister was too young to have any type of role like that. They were good about it.
Like that?
Yeah, they were really good about
like that.
He's running around.
Indeed.
He's multitasking.
Thank you. Like that.
But to that point, yes, it does happen. In fact, I think there's a real argument that the Jazz probably did give Donovan a little bit too much.
I think it says a lot.
Though I don't know if he abused it to the level he could have.
I'm not sure enough about that to really say one way or another. I think from what I was hearing, I think it could have gone that direction. I don't know that it did or not, or how far that went down the tracks. But I think if you're a Pacers fan, it is a healthy thing for the franchise. The franchise and the star player have their roles, and it's easy for one to get in the lane of the other. Well, really one way. But I think the most healthy franchises really draw a clear line. I got into an argument with Gordon for a long time about whether or not the Jazz should ask Donovan Mitchell for his opinion on trades or signings. Mm-hmm. And Gordon's opinion was always, why not? Let's, play make them feel empowered. That's how they're going to want to stay. And my argument was, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because what happens when you have to tell that player no?
Yeah, absolutely.
What happens when you have to tell that player, make that trade? Are you crazy? Absolutely not. No, it's better to just have the define. Like, I have my role, you have your role.
Yeah.
You're really good at yours. Let me be really good at mine.
I totally agree. I'm completely on board with you.
And the Pacers aren't going to Tyrese Haliburton and saying, what should we do? You know what I mean?
Agreed. I think they've done a nice job. I think they've done a good job. And they've had potential areas for pitfalls. I'm looking back while you're talking. I'm looking back at their draft history. It's like they've just made a bunch of really good trades. They traded for Domantas Sabonis. Like, that was a really good move because Domantas Sabonis turned into Tyrese Haliburton. Like, they have just, without having a lot of high draft picks, they drafted Jarris Walker, who's a good player, but was like 8th overall.
I wonder if you hit on what I actually think was arguably their most successful.
They drafted
pick.
Benedict Mathurin, with the 6th pick. So they've had some high picks, but there's not a number 1 pick. There's not a number 2 pick here. And I think there's a somewhat, I would listen to the argument that they're the 3rd best team in the Eastern Conference right now. Like they're if they played the Knicks, I think they would probably beat the Knicks in a 7-game series.
The Knicks?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're just a much more complete 2-sided team.
Oh, I'd take them. They've got a great coach. I'd take them. Absolutely would take them. Do you remember that they so Kawhi Leonard is the headliner for Mountain West player that got drafted as kind of big and then evolved into a wing, right? And that's true, and that's a great success story. But do you remember a stiff big from New Mexico by the name of Danny Granger?
Of course, yeah.
Who the Pacers drafted and turned into maybe not an all-star, but like certainly a starting caliber wing for any NBA team who could bang threes and hit big shots. It was him and Andrew Bogut going head-to-head in the paint. That was the Mountain West that year.
Yep.
And they drafted Danny Granger with 17th pick.
Yep.
They're like, no, this dude's a wing.
Yep.
And he was really good.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He wasn't Kawhi Leonard, but he was really good.
Yep. Try to see who
Man, I'm old.
No, Danny Granger was a great player.
I covered Danny Granger in college. He hasn't played in the NBA in a decade.
Now, some of that was, injuries. He might have had a longer career. He derailed.
When was his last year in the NBA?
2015, 10 years ago. And he was drafted 20 years ago. So, yeah. Yeah, he's drafted 20 years ago. I'm with you, Wade.
Get over here, son. Let me tell you about the time when Andrew Bogut went up against Danny Granger in the great days of the Mountain West.
Rodney Hood retired this past year, and I was at his draft. I had that moment, too. I talked to him on draft night in New York. Yeah. I've had that moment, too.
Man. Boy, Danny wasn't a wing then. He was a big for the mighty Lobos of New Mexico.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to go with the eco, right? With New Mexico.
Cole Bagley is going to join us coming up next.
Oh, Cole Bagley. That young, spry Cole.
The whippersnapper.
More next. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Former Bronco great Nick Ferguson. Where are you at on the Ashton Genty move, and how good of an offseason does it appear that the Raiders have had?
Look, I'm a Broncos through and through, but real recognize real. And Ashton Genty, in my opinion, was a dog of a running back. When you know that you are the bell cow back, the opposing defense know you're going to get the ball, and they still can't do anything with you, that says a lot. And now you have Geno, who's a smart player. You have Chip Kelly, who knows the league inside and out. And then you got a tight end and Brock Bowers, who's going to create a lot of favorable boxes, right? That's what you want. You want a favorable box. You want to get those linebackers outside the box so you can run the ball. And when you know you got a guy with Genty who can run with power and he can run through contact, that's going to be a problem.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to talk some Dreamcoat hockey. Hit the open, Christian.
With complete coverage of the Utah Hockey Club, this is Cole Bagley of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
See, the name isn't officially official, so I feel like I can still keep Dreamcoats alive.
Okay.
No?
Until we know what the name is.
Hi, Cole.
How's it going, guys?
We're doing well. You were at the center of a big story. Your tweet went quite viral, as you had seen on YouTube. The name for the Utah Hockey Club had switched to the Utah Mammoth. Admittedly, Cole, we've been busy, and I've got playoffs and stuff I'm focusing on. What has happened? If people missed it, the Utah Hockey Club changed or maybe it was the other way around. YouTube changed the Utah Hockey Club handle to Utah Mammoth, which seemed to reveal what the name has been. That's the last I've heard of the story. What has happened since then? Because they deleted the page and it's come back as Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially all that's happened ever since. It was an interesting Tuesday night. I'm laying down to go to sleep, and all of a sudden, my phone starts blowing up with, hey, have you seen this? And, it was screenshots of their YouTube page. So I jump over there and I realize, oh my gosh, this is, this wasn't like something generated. Like, this is legit. Their handle, the Utah Hockey Club's official YouTube channel handle was Utah Mammoth. And, if you went to the bio in their About section, it also said Utah Mammoth. So, I did what anybody would do, right? You take a screenshot and you post it, and all of a sudden it blows up. And, I think they lucked out that, the Delta Center renovations reveal was that next morning. That's not something they weren't trying to patch up, a potential leak by releasing that info. That was something that was planned, and they kind of just leaned more into that and acted like nothing happened, which isn't, I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. But since then, not a whole lot of traction. But, from what I've gathered, conversations I've had, things I've seen, it does feel like Utah Mammoth is going to be the future name of this hockey team.
Any idea what they're waiting for?
No. I mean, I think they still want to kind of stick to their timing, which has always been, hey, we're excited to reveal the name at some point between, at some point before the 2025-26 season. Of my own speculation, I think it'll come around the draft. I think that makes a lot of sense, to kind of give some separation from the season, get through the playoffs, and then gives people something to be excited. And it makes sense, right? Like, I don't see them handing the next draft pick a regular Utah sweater when the name needs to be revealed, and it would be really awesome and make a lot of sense to hand them, a sweater with a mammoth on it, right?
When is the lottery because we're watching it for the Jazz. The Jazz is a week from Monday, 10 days from now. When is it for the Utah Hockey Club, just because it ties into the draft? And am I right that the Utah Hockey Club doesn't have a chance of winning the number one pick? That's not how the NHL lottery works?
Yeah, so the lottery, I think, is this week. I think it's on May 5th.
Monday, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't, based on how things went for Utah kind of this season, they're anticipated to select outside of the top 10. Kind of some of the speculation that I've seen is somewhere between like 11 and 14. And so it's not going to be like a season ago where, they're really expecting to make some high picks, some high selections necessarily. Obviously picking where they did last year, helped them get, some of the premier talent and a guy like T.J. Ginla. Not that you still can't get a really good player. I mean, last year they selected Cole Baudouin late in the first, and I think he's going to be a big player for this club. But yeah, I mean, there's not going to be as much attention on it. I think this team is very much looking more towards free agency and bolstering their lineup and making new additions. But, a first-round pick is a first-round pick, and, they're still going to give everything they have to make sure they pick the right guy.
Walk us through what we know about what's happening across the street from where we are now at Delta Center. We certainly see all the equipment and the trucks and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's, renovations have officially begun for, the Delta Center in terms of making it better accommodating hockey. There obviously will be some impacts to, the Jazz, but it is more centered around improving those sightlines for hockey games and making it increasing the capacity for hockey. Last season, not counting obstructed seats, a sellout was considered 11,300. And over the next 3 years, what they're hoping to accomplish is upgrading that to 17,000 for hockey, 19,000 for basketball. And what they're doing is they're using a retractable mechanism for seats in the lower bowl. They're expanding, I think, each end by 12 feet. They're raising the floor of the Delta Center by 2 feet. They said they do anticipate, but that by the beginning of the 2025-26 seasons, that all of the lower bowl seats in Delta Center will have a full, complete view of both nets for hockey. And then over the next 3 years, they'll continue to make adjustments to the upper bowl. But they do anticipate 3 full summers because, this year they obviously have a lot of time to work with, which is great. Both teams didn't make the playoffs. They got about 6 months before, things need to be figured out. But then, they're not entirely sure how long the off seasons are going to be moving forward, especially with, the hockey club has said next year's playoffs are bust and, they're only going to continue to get better. So we'll see how it goes from there. But yeah, it's exciting. And I think they're going to put together a really nice arena that, just continues to make Utah and Salt Lake City a tough place to play.
I didn't realize there were obstructed views in the lower bowl. I thought that was just the upper bowl.
No, that was the lower bowl as well. Behind the nets, there were some obstructed view seats, which actually my parents found out. They bought some tickets to see the Pittsburgh Penguins, who was our family team when I was growing up, and they unfortunately did not see Sidney Crosby's game winner because he scored on the net. He scored on the net right in front of them, so they had to watch the Jumbotron. But they did say lower bowl, no obstructed views, and they're actually adding 400 more seats in the lower bowl this offseason because they're going to fix some of those issues behind the nets. They're going to have more seats on the boards because, this year there was really no seats right on the boards, which is not, generally normal in the National Hockey League. So yeah, a lot of new adjustments.
Do we have any idea what the price tag on this whole thing's going to be after it's all said and done?
I have no idea. That's a really good question.
I'm guessing not cheap.
I doubt it. Yeah.
Yeah. Over $1 billion. Or at least what's $2 billion all downtown. Got to be at least $700 million going into Delta Center, I would imagine. It's a lot.
It is. There's financing coming from the Smith Group too. That's not just
right.
You're just talking about public financing.
Right.
So, yeah. All right. Cole, thank you very much. Always great to have you on the show. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks.
See Cole. There's Cole Bagley. Cool. It's definitely like a beehive over there. We drive by it all the time.
Yeah.
There's tons of activity. It's amazing what they can get done in such a short amount of time.
Getting the entire lower bowl done by next year is great. I think that's a big accomplishment if you can do it. And this is by far, for sure, the longest summer they're going to have. I'm not necessarily expecting the Jazz to be back in the playoffs next year, but there's a real chance that the hockey club could be, or the Mammoth. When are you going to start calling them the Mammoth? You going to wait till the name drops?
Oh, no, it's Dreamcoats from here on out.
Okay. Good idea. That's not confusing to anybody.
Well, it's not confusing to me. I still call the Nationals the Expos.
Sure.
I still call the Hurricanes the Whale. Man, the Whalers. What a waste of a great name.
And logo.
Yeah. Just amazing. What were what was the Avalanche before they were a Canadian team, weren't they?
They were. Wasn't the Jets, right? That is now circled back to being the Jets?
It might have been.
Or did the Jets go to Arizona? I can't remember.
See? You're confused, and you're trying to do it right. The Dreamcoats are rolling into the playoffs next year.
That's why we need to have holidays to recognize these teams. Otherwise, we forget.
Stay tuned.
The Nordiques.
Jake and Ben. Quebec.
Yep.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Joined now by BYU Athletic Director Tom Holmoe.
We know there's the quote, "You will not outbid us," and it seems like the administration has tried to downplay that. How do you think they feel about all this stuff that they're going to have to do in order to be successful?
When I got the job, C. Samuelson said, if you want to be successful, you got to stay aligned with the church. That's what we've really tried to do. We're working through this together. There's a thing called social media that you always have to deal with, but we can't be affected by what's being said on social media. We know where we're going and what direction we're going to take. We have a plan, and right now it's pretty good. It's probably going to change in the next little while, and I'm not going to say it's easy. We're just going to stick to the plan.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Slapshot, hard and fast, with a team that's gonna last. Dreamcoats on the ice, we bring the heat. Don't think twice. skies, skating with the fire burning deep.
Does the Mammoth have its own song?
You
I don't
should
think
write.
so.
Well, why don't you and the
I
boys
don't
get
think
together and
so.
write one? Get the fellas together.
Do you believe in karma? Log on to KSLSports.com to help raise money for a great cause and create some good vibes for the Jazz in the NBA Draft Lottery. It's the KSL Sports 2-for-1. Donate at least $2 to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital in hopes of the Jazz recouping winning basketball here in Utah. Go to KSLSports.com and donate your $2 today. Ben, did you see that old Charles Barkley is concerned about his good buddy Bill Belichick?
Oh, I didn't.
And may even reach out. Said it in an interview.
I might reach out is the best guy move of like, my friend's really in trouble. Maybe I'll do something about it.
And a couple of other details have trickled out about this whole relationship with this Jordon Hudson gal. And I think Chuck has a right to be concerned.
Okay.
I think old Bill's let in a monster. So 2 stories, Ben, 2 stories to prove my point.
Okay.
One, did you know they were going to do a Hard Knock style show for North Carolina in their camp?
Oh, okay.
And it was since canceled.
Great.
They're not going to do it.
That's actually a good decision.
Do you know why they're not going to do it?
Because she didn't want them asking questions about how the head coach met her?
No.
That was the last interview.
No. It's because she demanded to be EP.
Okay.
She said,
I'm 24.
I'm going to be...
I have no experience doing this at all, but I could be executive producer.
EP, yeah.
I get final say.
So they said, no, we're not going to.
That doesn't sound like something we are interested in.
We're not going to. And then also, Ben, did you know that Miss Hudson has over $9 million in real estate?
Oh.
3 different properties. I'd have to go back and look at where it is. But, luxury homes, $9 million.
Inherited this from family? Or
No. She has purchased this over a period of time post-2021.
Okay.
Now, what happened in 2021?
Sure. The economy collapsed.
No. However they met.
Oh, okay. This.
They met
okay.
in 2021.
I'm thinking post-COVID. Everything's dirt cheap.
No.
At least interest rates are cheap.
I'm thinking post the mysterious meeting. Now, I know that her mom probably runs a fine adult novelty store.
That's right. They have a novelty store.
She owns a novelty store, an adult novelty store. But
wait, that's news to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Her parents, her mom, I don't think her parents are together, and her mom specifically owns an adult novelty store. Yeah. But I don't know if that's like Rockefeller kind of money. You know what I mean? Now, Christian, you are similar age to Miss Hudson. Now, do you have the money where you can go out and start a small real estate empire?
I just bought one house.
So a really small empire.
Yeah.
The
really
smallest of empires.
Small empire. So, I don't know, Ben. Maybe it's me just putting things together, but I think Bill has let a real monster into his life.
He may have already fed the monster.
Seriously.
With $9 million in homes. Okay. It's interesting. I hadn't heard that part of the story. I had heard the novelties part.
But he looks so dang happy.
He looks happy. It's the happiest he's looked.
I mean, this is the Anna Nicole Smith thing.
Oh, this is what was the Michigan guy who was cheating with the what's the guy who had the silly name who was recording the opposing team? Oh, come on.
Oh, his guy, his film guy. Yeah,
Stallions.
Connor Stallions.
Connor Stallions. Like, yeah, she's Connor Stallions. She is. She's Rasputin. She's all of these different monsters that have come in and felled great men. She's making a name for herself.
This is tale as old as time, Ben.
But she's going to be infamous now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is already there.
And really rich.
Yeah, and rich. Yeah, good for her.
Really rich.
Well, follow the money. That's generally the case. Stallions, why did he do it? Probably got some money. Why did Anna Nicole Smith do it? Got some money.
By the way, she also sent out an email that Bill had sent to their staff. This was excusing the question thing, because I don't know how much you followed the fallout from that. So CBS said this wasn't the only time she interrupted. It happened throughout the interview. So that kind of took some of the mysteriousness off the where did you meet question, because They just didn't want it. So the email said, Bill Belichick says to all their staff, says, the media is going to want to talk about anything but what's in my book. And if they want to talk about what's in my book, it's going to be all the negative stuff that's in my book. And he's like, I don't mind sharing the negative stuff in the book, but I want to stay on message about positive stuff in the book and all this stuff. And like, so really she was just being a PR clown in the interview as much as protect my secrets girlfriend. That kind of story was kind of overblown because she was just trying to do what all stupid PR people try to do. And that's tell the media what is interesting. And coincidentally, what is interesting is the things that they want everybody to know about.
Yeah.
And it does kind of make me laugh on a side note, how foolish people think that, like, Bill, they're trying to do an interesting newscast that is going to get people to watch it. And you know what is interesting about you right now is not your stupid book and your lessons on how to coach a winning program.
Right.
No, it's that you're dating a 24-year-old woman.
Yeah.
And, of course, the negative stuff is going to be what gets attention. Were you born yesterday?
Right.
Have you ever seen somebody promote a book before? Ever?
Right. It's
Have you
always
ever seen what's a blurb?
What are they called? What are these books called? Tell-alls. Because people want to hear all of this stuff.
Right.
Not just what's been manicured.
It's funny because the arrogance in the first place to think like, oh no, they're going to want to read about my defensive schemes and how good they were to win football games. It's like, no, that's not what people are interested in, Bill, and you're trying to sell a book.
Yeah.
But anyway, this gal has way too big a role in his life.
Agreed. And where I don't feel bad for Bill at all is, I'm just trying to think of who's a random coach that's retired in the last 5 years. Whatever. Do you know who Mel Tucker's dating?
Gregg Popovich.
I don't think Mel Tucker retired. I think he was more.
Sure, he's a bad example, but
and the way he went out, this is really not a good example for you to
Kirk
use. I don't
Ferentz.
think. Okay.
Who's he dating? I don't know because he's not in the headlines anymore. Bill is choosing to coach still. Bill is choosing to be in the spotlight. Bill brought all of this on Bill's self.
Oh, he was in the spotlight for this, though, before he took the North Carolina job.
But he wants to be around. He wants to be a person. He could disappear. He doesn't have to do Tom Brady's roast. Like, he could absolutely go hide on an island. We were talking about Donnie Nelson buying a corner of Hawaii and disappearing until he wants to not be disappeared. And Bill Belichick could have done the same thing. He's choosing not to. So, no, I don't feel bad for Bill Belichick for any of this.
Ben, if you came from a family, with an adult novelty fortune, how public about that would you be?
If I was the heir?
It's the heir to an adult novelty fortune. Would you be like throwing that out around town?
Probably not.
Would you make up a different reason why you had a lot of money?
Yeah, yes, I would. I don't think that would be my claim to fame.
You would be ashamed of the family business.
No, I just would want to carve my own path. I don't want to get pigeonholed into doing what Dad does. You don't want to know what Dad does.
You don't want to get
whoever, in this situation.
You don't want to be pigeonholed as adult novelty guy?
I don't want anyone to ever say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
But, see, you would be kind of a hypocrite, though, because you'd spend that money.
I would spend
You'd
the
be
money.
like Carmela Soprano. That was like the long-running thing with her character is,
right.
Wow, I really like spending this
She
money.
had a conscience.
But I'm pretty ashamed of where this money came from.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that. I think you're lying to yourself. I think if you're going to be out there spending that adult novelty money,
I got to wear a cape.
I think you at least have to tell people honestly where it came from.
Okay. You know what paying for this vacation, don't you? You don't want to know. Never mind, you don't want to know.
How do you think I just got down to Disney?
Yeah, right.
Oh, all right. Hans and Scotty here coming up next.
Driving through the neighborhood. This is where the doctor lives. Well, he's a lawyer. Well, he owns a concrete business. That's a hell of a house. What do they do?
Well, they're in adult novelty. They've got a chain of stores.
You know that weird little store that's open of all hours, but no one's ever there in the daytime? It's them.
They're raking it in. Tons of dough. All right, Hans, Scotty here next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.